Good afternoon, LEC community. I'm Ivan Ramirez, part of the LEC team. Today, we are back with another episode of Ask an Educator. This is our series where we get to know different educators in the field, get to know their stories, their experience, their experiences, and hopefully today you get to learn a little bit more from our guests. Today, I'm joined by Stephen Linkous. Stephen, how are you?
Good. How's it going, Ivan?
Good. It's been different time here in Kansas City with all the snow, all the ice. Schools keep being canceled. Uh, Hopefully, we're out of it by now.
Yeah, I flew out yesterday, and fortunately, I flew in the afternoon, so
Yeah.
I had a slight delay. But people I knew that were flying out in the morning, it was a nightmare. So yeah, no. Hopefully, we get to spring and we start seeing some of the normal, nice weather.
No, I'm excited. It's always gloomy, so gray. And I'm excited to be out there. I enjoy camping, going on my bike. I love being outdoors, so I'm looking forward to that. But thank you for being here with us. Today is an opportunity to get to know you more. And and I also want, because I don't have this experience, but some of us, we are interested in, to know what it's like to be a leader in a school. So I that are looking to and to keep further in their education and be in different positions. So today is a good opportunity for that. Before we get into that, let us know who you are for the people that do not know you, where you from, what has been your trajectory. Yeah, tell us.
Yeah. So great to see everybody as you're seeing me, but I don't see you. So my name's Stephen Linkous. I'm originally from Denver. 30 years in education. Started as a teacher, was an assistant principal, and while I was teaching, I was a coach, class sponsor, pretty much whatever else was needed. Then from there, ended up being a principal supervisor, an assistant superintendent, a chief of staff, and then the last position I was in that I recently left was a superintendent. So, traditional educator, majored in history, got my degree in secondary education as well, and like people coming in now, had to take a bunch of tests and took all those, and fortunately passed them, and the rest is kind of went from there.
Yeah. Have you always wanted to be a leader in a school? Because it seems like you went most of your experience has been in in a leadership position.
When I started, I was teaching ESL and I was teaching social studies, and I was also a bilingual teacher. Para los que no me conocen, si hablo español también. And I liked it. It was fun. I mean, you're in the class every day. I mean, and I taught middle and high school. So middle school kids, you never know what you're going to get because with from 10 minutes to the next 10 minutes, it's a different kid.
Mhm.
And that's just part of their hormonal makeup at that point and so forth. At the high school, I loved it. It was a lot of fun. I loved all the activities. I love being able to give back and then seeing the kids get their diplomas, when they were seniors. But I think, when I really think about it, you know, I was getting my master's. I was actually getting my principal certification, and then I was going to finish my master's because I wanted a raise. I was like,
Okay.
okay, I'm at the bottom of the scale as far as how they were set up. If I get this raise, I can't even remember how much it was, but it was X thousand dollars per year, which I was like, over 10 years that adds up, and then whatever. Got in there, started doing some things, and then I worked with some leaders that I didn't care for a lot. To be quite honest with you, I thought they were somewhat disrespectful in some ways, and I didn't like their style of leadership. Is probably the best way to put it. And then the thought in my head became, well, if they could do it, why shouldn't I be in
Yeah.
there? And kind of decided to take that route, and then had some people. It's like anything, right? You have people that fortunately see something in you, and I had some leaders that looked at me and said, "Hey, we think this would be a good opportunity. You should do this. You need to think about it." And that's what kind of pushed me forward. Because initially, if you would have asked me back then, I'd still be a teacher. I'd still be coaching track. I'd still be coaching football. I'd still be doing that stuff. But they pushed me, and then as I looked at it, I thought there's more. I'm impacting 150 kids now. If I move into administration, I'm impacting 900, 1,500, whatever. Never imagined moving to central office, so
Mhm.
that's kind of where it started.
I think it's important to, like you said, you wanted to be that person, and it's important to have people like you in those positions so students can see that they can also be a leader in a school, a principal, a superintendent. So it's important to have that representation for that reason. Let me back a little. Was there a teacher, a mentor, or an experience that inspired you to step into the classroom, into education?
So I was pretty fortunate in the sense that I had some good teachers in the history. That's why I ended up probably majoring in histories because I think back to going in high school. I think back to Mr. Salazar, Mr. Wheeler, and Mr. Rose, who all made pretty distinct impacts. Just with, and one was Latino, he was a Mexican American. Another one was African American, and the other gentleman was of Jewish descent.
Mhm.
And actually was an alumni of the high school that I was attending back in the day. So very different individuals. Salazar was from East LA in California, so distinct personality. Wheeler was an African American from Denver, and then of course Mr. Rose was of Jewish descent and from Denver as well. So as you can imagine, three very different perspectives, personalities, but they're caring for students and they're wanting students to be better was very impactful. I liked history anyway. I loved, I had an uncle that would travel, so he would send stuff, so it always intrigued me wanting to go places. And history kind of fell in line with that. And I think that's probably where it came from. The other piece was my parents both worked for nonprofits, and I was used to giving back already, whether it was, Thanksgiving turkey deliveries, whether it was just different types of community service types things. I was used to it. And then I was like, okay, what can I do with history? I was an athlete, so I was like, eventually, probably I want to coach. What could I do with coaching or something like that? And then teaching was kind of the best route for that, and it's something I really enjoyed.
Yeah, yeah. Talking about history, I want to talk a lot about that for a little bit. What would you title this period in time as a history teacher? How would you name this? Yeah, the moment that we were living through.
It's a crazy time.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the reality, and we're in a society now where everybody's right. Just ask them, and it doesn't matter which side of like you saw the other night. There was a speech by the president.
yeah,
The aisle. I'll use the aisle as a as the example. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. People are inflexible. They think they're right and they don't want to listen to other people. You don't have to like what someone else says, but as long as they're respectable about it, then you listen. You can give counter perspective. You may or may not agree, and that's okay.
hmm
Uh, I did teach government at one point, and a shocking concept that people have forgotten in our country is part of the things you're supposed to be able to do is discuss, converse, come to some type of agreement. Um, so I think that's where a lot of things have gotten lost, unfortunately, over the years. And of course, lots of fingers are being pointed by different peoples at others, saying that they did it or they did it. But reality is that's where we're at, and I
yeah,
think that's the biggest problem in society is and you know this. I've been working with different people. You're not going to agree on everything,
no,
even if you work in the same workplace. Even if you have the same end goal, you may not agree on something. So it's that ability to work with others, and unfortunately, eso es la locura de ahora. People do not want to converse; they just want to be right, and we have to get back to, what, we have to work through this together because, education is a prime example. If we're not all working with the end goal of getting kids to where they're supposed to be, they're not going to get there.
yeah, yeah. We've been talking to a lot of educators, and yeah, they care about us, our students. And it is a difficult time now. And, everywhere, especially in schools. Educators are having a hard time, and students are also afraid. I don't know if you have any words for students or for parents or for educators to make them feel at ease, because I know we cannot solve what's going on, but at least we can make them feel at ease. Yeah.
I think that this is what I would tell people. As someone who's always worked in urban districts, you have an area that you control. As a teacher, whether you're elementary, middle, or high school, you have a certain pound amount of time each day with that student. Your
hmm
job during that time is to make the student feel comfortable, make the student want to be there, and show them that you care. In doing that, that is what you can do. Now, there's different ways to do that. It looks very different with, an elementary kid who you may have all day, or the secondary kid who you may have, from 45 to 90 minutes a day, depending on a schedule. But they got to see you care. Be there for them, show them that they're important to you. And honestly, that's the biggest way you get kids to learn. You know,
hmm
you look at classrooms with highly successful teachers, what's the first thing you notice? Relationships. There's a culture in the classroom. Now, all the other pieces are there as well. as far as pedagogy, but that's what you see. So the advice I would have is that. The other thing is, you as a leader, you have to do what's right, and your job is to educate kids.
Yeah.
So, you unfortunately, we have the noise around us. You have to deal with the noise, but you have to put it in a perspective where we're going to get our kids to learn. Our kids are going to feel welcome, because part of the problem is, look at the absences.
Yeah.
You've seen an increase in absences across the nation in specific school sites. I'm not blaming anybody, but I think there has to be a reiteration of, you all are important to us. This is a great place for you to be. We're here for you. We got you, and we're going to help you get through this. And then also, that's when the learning can happen.
Yeah. No, you speak from a lot of experience and knowledge that that you have had accumulated throughout the years. What have been some of the lessons learned as an administrator?
I laugh because I tell people, if I were to write a book, I think a lot of the book would be, don't do this. So I
Hmm.
think there's a lot of things through trial and error that you learn that, I should have done this a different way, right? And I think a lot of it is, I think the biggest thing is this: you have to be a great communicator. So we'll start with that. So if you're going to lead any type of organization, it's not easy, because depending on if you're going into a low achieving environment, you know, you could speak the truth, but people don't want to hear
No.
it. And so you have to figure out how to make that, stick. And that's not easy. That's
Mhm.
easier said than done, right? The joke we always have is the little magic thing, and you do that, and then all of a sudden everything's changed. It's society's not like that. The world's not like that. So I think, be a good communicator. The other thing I would say is also have your convictions. They're the right place for you to work, and there's the not the wrong place for you to work. Your moral compass has to align to where you're working, and if it's not, then you need to find something else. And I know that's easier said than done. I know that those are hard decisions. But in the same token, I think you got to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't
Yeah.
care what the paycheck is. You got to be able to look in the mirror every day. And
Hmm.
you have to be able to say, am I in the right place? Am I doing the right thing? And can I truly look in the mirror and say that every day I am doing my best for the 25 students, 5,000 students? You know what I mean? Whether you're a teacher, administrator, central office superintendent, what have you. So
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of the advice I would give is just, the old joke from the old days of, to thyself be true. You got to know who you are, and then you have to be able to push that. And then, and also know this: your convictions are not going to be everyone else's convictions. So even when you're trying to do the right thing, some are going to agree with you, some aren't.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to take that on.
Thank you for saying that. That's even it's harder. We work with a lot of new educators. We have, as you know, we have our Futuro Educator program. Our goal is to add 50 new educators by 2027. So far, we are on track. But it's harder to do that as a new educator. So I hope that they are here listening. If not, we'll share this link because it's always a good reminder to have those convictions and those moral values, even as a brand new teacher, which sometimes is harder. Uh,
Very, very
yeah,
hard.
yeah, yeah. uh, what has made you stick, be in education for this long? What is one thing that has kept you in education, or several things?
So, part of it just my background. My grandparents were migrant workers. So they went all over the nation. They were in Texas, Ohio, Illinois. My uncle was born outside of Chicago. It was fields then. It's city now.
Yeah,
We've all seen those areas that, with the growth of society, that used to be the campo, and now they're the suburb. So he was born in an area, or my mother was born in that area, and then my uncle, her brother, was born about a little an hour and change outside of Denver. And my grandparents had very limited education. There was not an opportunity for them to go to school. It was, hey, tú tienes que trabajar, ya estuvo, ya tenemos que hacer las cosas, tienes que hacer comida. So better get yourself out there and work, because we got to eat.
yeah,
And I think, the work ethic they instilled then went to my mother, who then really pushed. And then my mom and dad, they didn't go to college, but they were like, look, you don't got an option. You have to go. And, as I think about it, I grew up in an area of town in Denver where the graduation rate was low, the crime rate was high. I mean, if you look at all the data, I should be a statistic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that helped get me through one was I had some good teachers along the way. Of course, I always tell people my dad's right foot, my mom's left foot. That was ready to hit my rear if I got out of line, so that didn't hurt either. But I had some really good educators that really pushed me through and really showed me where education could take you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times when you grow up in these areas where, it is hard. I mean, when I was 14 years old, I knew a guy, he got stabbed to death. He got stabbed to death over a drug deal.
Mm-hmm.
This was a guy I went to school with. I won't say we were the best of friends, but we knew each other. We got along. And next thing you know, I read in the paper, he's dead. You
Yeah.
know, there were people that got shot at that I knew. There was, I mean, so it was puro barrio, no? So it was
Yeah.
one of the things where the education opened these doors
Mm-hmm.
and it opened opportunities. And then what that did then is I said, you know what, this is going to open doors for me. And it has. And it's given me plenty of professional opportunities. I'm here to conference. First thing I got here, I'm not even in line. I'm trying to finish a call and someone's grabbing me. Hey, what up, bro? And I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? And catching up. And these are colleagues from California, Florida, Virginia, Texas, you know what I mean? All over the place. And it's opened those doors. And I
Yeah.
think what I want to say with that is the limits are what you make them. Is it easy? Heck no.
Mm-hmm.
Are there obstacles? Oh yeah, lots of them. But in the reality is, those education and those pieces of papers open doors. I'm still finishing my doctorate, so in a year, hopefully in a year and change, I'll have that done and have another title. But honestly, at this point, it's more to do it because I want people in my family to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if
Mm-hmm.
my son wants to do it, then pues está bien. He'll have that choice. But maybe he won't want to. Maybe he'll just get his degree and go into a field he likes, and that's okay too. But I got nieces and nephews. I got other people that know me, other people that have seen me, and it shows like, hey, this is a Barrio kid that grew up and was able to do these opportunities. And I think that's what motivates me every day. Is I couldn't have got to these places without the education. I couldn't have got to these places without the people who supported me, both in family and also within school systems. I was big into sports. My coaches were big, but without these people, I wouldn't have got here.
Yeah. No, we're a makeup of many, many, many
You know,
supporters.
yeah, I laugh when people say, "Oh, I'm self-made." They're right to a point. I mean, they put the hard work in, right? But nobody's doing it on their own. We've all gotten some type of support from individuals and groups,
Yeah.
that have helped us get to where we're at. So, and I think those are the pieces that are very big to me, and that's why I think, and also I have a shelf life. I'm not going to work forever. There's going to
No.
be a point where I'm like, yes, dual. That's time for someone else to come in. But I want to leave a legacy where I've helped some people, and they've decided this is the route they want to go, and hopefully it's an education. But if it's not and it's another field, that's great. And then just lastly, I was the first one to graduate from college. After I graduated, my brother went to New York University, so he ended up going over there. My niece is a University of Colorado Boulder graduate. My son's at University of Kansas. I got another nephew that's now at University of Colorado Denver, and my younger brother, that's his kid. But you set that tone and you set that example, and I think doing that as a professional, but then also doing that with my family is very important.
I like that. And I wrote it down. You set that tone. You set the example. I think we have that privilege as Latinos, sometimes son of immigrants, daughter of immigrants. We have the, yeah, it's a privilege, but it's also a responsibility to set that tone. The little bit I know that your family, it's into education, your wife, your son. So yeah, I can see how you have been able to influence your small family, but also your larger family. I have before I get into the challenges as an administrator. There's some people here watching. Sue Moreno, retired art educator, and our first guest for this year. She says hi, and also our friend Eric Erazo says hi.
And Eric.
He's not there with you. He's in the okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's over there.
But no, what I know also when I've been in conferences with you, people know you. They come and talk to you. They wanna pick your brain from different ideas. So yeah, I see everything that you're talking. I know that it. Yeah, I've seen it. Well, what does advocacy looks like as an administrator?
So that's an interesting one. I think it depends on your position, right? And one of the things I always tell people is the two positions you can have the most influence in as far as your own decision making
Mhm.
is being the principal or being the superintendent. Because in the principal, you're running your building. And granted, it's still collaborative. Everything is still collaborative, but you're the final say. As a superintendent, it's kind of the same thing. You're collaborating with staff, you answer to your board. But I think where the difficulty comes in is you sometimes run into systems that are, they just function a certain way, right? And if it's not improving students feeling welcome, being part of things, if that makes sense, and all that, or actually, let's just be honest, learning how to read, write, and do math beyond the being part of community, what's the system doing?
Yeah.
So then the hard part becomes when you try to make those changes. And the challenge is you're changing mindset.
Mhm.
And there are people that they don't want their mindset changes. You've heard in some countries where they've built houses on top of the former trash dump.
Mhm.
They give people an opportunity to leave those areas. People won't leave because they've been there. The mindset is this is where I live, right? Not judging, just stating a reality and a fact. So one of the things then is when you look at it, if you've been in education for 20, 25 years, you've always done it a certain way, right, wrong, or in the middle, you don't want to change because you're comfortable. And that's what you do. And I think part of it is, you have to build allies, you have to build bridges, and you have to do those things. And you also, just being very honest, have to know, is it a system that wants to change?
Yeah.
Is there a hunger for the change? And if there's not, and you need to change, you're in the wrong place
Yeah.
because it's going to end up costing you, and it could be your job, your sanity. It can be a number of things, right? So it's one of those things where you have to build those bridges, those allies, and you got to get a number of people behind the momentum. The other piece behind it is you got to get community to buy in, and
Mhm.
you have to get them to want to be engaged. I'll be honest. One of the issues you run into in advocacy is, having worked in predominantly Latino communities all over the country. Um, a lot of times our people don't come out. They will say, "No, está bien, que lo haga como quiera." And it's like, no, but this isn't right. This needs to change. This needs to look different. And I think that's one of the difficulties is we have to continue to work, with our people and say, like, look, you need to be involved.
Yeah.
We need your voice because things need to change. So you need to help us push that change. And a lot of times, let's be honest, that moves systems
Yeah.
because let's call things what they are. If this is a business, our product are students, and they
Yeah.
are the reflection of the work we've put in. And we can sit here and say, oh, but Steven's from the hood. It's a tough life. Well, yeah, it is tough, but I still need to be capable.
Yeah.
So I think we need, one of the obstacles is getting parents to engage fully and be part of that change.
Mhm.
And the other
Yeah.
piece, I'll be honest, is sometimes for people, it's listening.
Yeah. Yeah. With our sister organization, we do a lot of that work to let parents know that the school they have the voice to go to the school and demand or see changes or talk to those in decision making positions. So, but I know it's difficult. Sometimes the language, sometimes the yeah the hours, the timing, the status. There's a lot of influences. But you're
Yeah.
right. You need parents involved because they're the ones that hold the power. Uh, Truly, the districts they work for the parents. Yeah. The other side is what are the rewards of being an administrator?
I think when you see kids learning, when
Hmm.
you see improvement, when you see growth, I mean, I think what people forget is most of us that move into central office were teachers at some point. Now, there are certain positions that aren't, and there's reasons they're not, right? Like your finance person is generally going to be someone with a business background.
Hmm. Hmm.
But in most cases, you know, a lot of us were teachers. So when we look at it, we want our kids to be successful, but it's working with that disconnect. So, I think that that's the proudest moment is when you see scores go up at a school, when you go to classrooms and you see more kids being engaged, when you go places. And the other piece with that is you see teachers, they're fired up about it because they're seeing the growth, they're seeing the good stuff. So those are all the things that from central office. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice when the board says scores went up, and you guys can, puff your chest out a little bit and feel good. But it's more that tangible, that when you're at the buildings and you see the kids that were struggling and now they're reading at grade level.
Yeah.
See
Yeah.
the kid who's maybe not so verbal but is now speaking to you in a pretty dynamic way, right? Or even if you see the kid who, they got here 2 years ago, they're very limited in English. Now they're able to have those conversations. They're doing writing activities. They're doing lots of things because you're seeing that development.
Yeah.
You're seeing the kid learn. So it's that, even at the central office level, is what's exciting. That's what fires you up. That's what tells you in the right profession, we're doing the right things. Let's keep it going.
That makes me think, because I've talked to different individuals. They want to move ahead, but they are afraid that they might lose that touch point or that connection with students, because being in central office will be different than being in the classroom. Is that true? Do you still have connection to students? Do you still get to build those relationships?
It's different.
Is
I
it?
mean, it's not the same as being in the building. Like even when I was a building principal, I was principal of a building of 1,500 kids. I saw all those kids every day.
Yeah.
And even as I learned their names, they know who I was.
Hmm.
But I think as you go into buildings, depending on the position and depending on what you do, the more frequently you can be there. And let's be honest, that's difficult as districts start getting to be 35, 40, 50, 150, 200 schools, right? You can't be at a building every day. Not the same building. You might be at different buildings, but you have to be, number one, on social media so that the kids are even looking at what you're doing. Number two, you have to be at buildings consistently because those kids are looking at you. They know who you are. A lot of times people are like, "Oh, the kids don't know who you are." Oh, yeah, they do.
Hmm.
They've seen that you're the principal's boss. They've seen that you're the superintendent. They've seen that you're, in some cases, the board member, right? Depending on who you are, they know who you are.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
looking at that. They're saying, and it's just a different kind of relationship. But what you also got to remember is, as you move into those positions, the relationship is different, but the influence is larger, if that makes sense, because you're impacting now a larger number of students. It's not in the same way, but it is an opportunity to impact larger numbers of students. And I always tell people, if this is a route you want to go, check it out, look at it, do it.
Yeah.
If you love being in the classroom, you don't have any desire to move out, don't do it. But hey, go get those degrees so you'll keep getting raises.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so it's one of those things where, like, not everyone needs to move. So um, yeah, I would definitely say, if you think your heart is in it, do it.
Yeah.
There's people like myself, there's other great leaders out there that they want to mentor you. They want you to be successful.
Yeah. Oh, we have a question in the chat. Can you share a success from this year so far?
Um, you know, Before I left my previous position, we put in a data-driven framework. And even though now I'm gone, they are still in classrooms all the time looking at what the instruction looks like.
Yeah.
And when I was over there, I remember seeing a teacher in August, and it was rough. It was real rough. I was in that same teacher's room in November, and my God, there was so much development.
Yeah.
But it was because the principals were coaching teachers, pretty frequently. They were getting into rooms and they were working on the right things. And then what else did I see in there that made it even better? Kids were engaged, kids were answering questions, kids were in small groups working, and they were verbalizing what they were supposed to do and they were actually doing the work. So, I mean, those are successes
Yeah.
because that's going to translate into growth in the other areas.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that was a question from Sue. If there's any more, because we're about almost at time. So if there's anybody out there that's watching, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, drop your questions. The final question that I have is, what do you hope to see in the future? You've been in education. You are a mentor. You've been impacting education through so many years. But what's in the future for you? What makes you excited?
I think the biggest thing is I'm excited by the growth of the number of Latinos and Latinas that are moving into superintendency. The fear is, and like I said, I'm working on a doctorate. I read a statistic where only 6% of college graduates that are Latino or Latina are going into education. So you start thinking about that, right? We make up 18% of the population. So it's not even a third of what we make up.
Yeah.
So I think there's beauty in the beast, right? So the beauty is, as we're seeing our professional Latino or Latinas moving up the food chain when they feel the need, when we're seeing more of our Latino and Latinas being successful teachers, or you know what I mean, or working in the educational space and doing what they want to do at a high level. That's the fear, though,
Mm.
is we have to get more of our youth to want to go on this profession, because if we don't, we're going to be extinct.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be like the 1950s and 60s where they say, hey, there are no Hispanic teachers, there are no this. Well, yeah, we've seen this data. So I just think, but the other thing I do like that I've seen, you have more districts doing grow your owns where they're actually starting at the high school level,
True.
where they're working with students to move into education. So I think that's exciting because you're getting kids who want to do this. It's an area they want to move into, and they've already developed an area of passion through the career pathways that they want to come back and give back.
Yeah. Yeah. True. It's exciting. There will be more of us, and then that we're working so more of us can be educated, and hopefully they choose education as a career. Any final thoughts before we end?
Yeah, no, number one, just thanks for having me. It's always fun to catch
Yeah.
up with you all, whether it's you, Edgar, or whoever. It's always great to see people from the LEC. The second thing is this: our kids are going to go as far as we push them. So we have to engage as a community to make sure that our kids, and I would even say all kids, you know, in this case, we just happen to be Latino here on the this particular space, but we have to push
Yeah.
and we have to expect high things, because the reality is, you know, language does not say how smart somebody is.
Hmm.
It's because they don't speak the language doesn't mean they don't have a wealth of knowledge. So we have to look at how we dip into that and then use that to create how they learn the next language and then move forward. So what I would say is just I would encourage stay involved, push kids, help them be the great person that they can be, and help them get that education. Because the reality is, whether it's we're seeing a lot of certifications now in trades. That's okay if that's a passion of people, but also let's get kids to get degrees.
Hmm.
We need more kids in education. We need more Latino and Latina teachers, because if that's not the case, then like I said with that statistic, we're going to become extinct.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Thank you for your time. Congratulations. I didn't know you were getting a PhD. So we're excited for that.
A little ways off, but hey, classes are done. If everything works out, it'll be a little over a year. So
Okay. What
gracias.
is your dissertation on?
The hiring and retention of Latino and Latina superintendents.
Okay. Okay. We're excited, yeah, to hear more about it. But thank you. Thank you, LEC community. We'll catch up later. It was nice talking to you, Stephen.
All right, thank you. Have a good
Bye
one.
bye.